Hey everybody, Crafty Sue. Yes, so what, seamstress? Back again. Now you've got your sewing machine, right? Y'all excited? Can't wait to get sewing. But are you ready? Do you have the tools? Some people think all you need sewing machine, bobbin, thread, scissors, fabric, and boom, that's it. Not so much. You have to really think about the whole process, and I'm going to help you with this is what I have in my toolbox. Well, most of it. The rest of it goes right along with the machine on the table. So you have a sewing machine, awesome, has great features, does just what you wanted to do for the projects that you're going to be doing. Now, sometimes accidents happen to your fabric. I got a shipment of fabric one time, and the company that packaged it, they put scotch tape on the outside of it, and it left glue. And it left the glue from the scotch tape onto the fabric, and I couldn't get it out. And then I heard someone mention this little product. It's Stain Devils, and it's for, gets nail polish, glue, and gum out. So what you have to do is you put it on the spot where it is, the glue from the tape or whatever, let it sit 10 minutes. If it's really sticky, icky, let it sit longer, and then you're going to follow the directions and get that glue out from the tape. I don't expect everyone to be so adventurous to want to do the full maintenance of the sewing machine, but there are little things that you do need to do. And when I sell a sewing machine, I have made up a TLC care guide. It's a 4-page thing saying what to do, what not to do, and you definitely better do this, that kind of thing. Inside your sewing machine there is a worm gear, they call it, and that's the main shaft that goes through the machine that makes the needle go up and down. That's one of the most important parts of the machine, excluding the motor, okay? That worm gear, any gears where it's a, you know what gears, anyway, it's not a flat surface, it's rigid surfaces touching each other to make the workings actually work inside. They have to have this on there so that they are free-flowing. But the thing about that is, if you don't check the grease in your sewing machine after a while, I mean, if it's a long while, it can harden up and it can cause major problems with the workings of your sewing machine. It can actually freeze up and stop working. And you definitely don't want that, because then you can't make your projects. I don't know why. I don't know if we're having power surge or what going on here. I'm on you. Oh, there we go. It was a loose plug. Okay. So, on the cleaning end of it, when you are sewing a lot of projects, you are accumulating dust from the air, fibers from the air even. I hate to say it, dead skin cells. Yeah, I don't like that one, but anyway. And when those tiny, tiny things get inside your feed dogs, in the bobbin casing area, even in the bobbin winding area. I've seen threads up in there. I don't know how, I guess they get caught underneath the bobbin because it's not winding quite right. Those areas will stop your machine. If they get jammed up, your machine will stop. You have to watch and take care of your machine in between items that you're making. It's just smart. Your sewing machine will love you for it, and it'll last a whole lot longer. Even the new ones, even though I don't do new. I mean, this is about the newest one I've had in a very long time. But it's a quilter's machine, and it has a big bed that goes on it, and I have you can see some of the pieces of a quilt that I'm planning on making for my daughter. So, in cleaning, you never, never, never use canned air. I don't care what videos you've seen that tell you, oh yeah, it's quick, easy, can't. No, what canned air does is a couple of really bad things. Because it uses that skinny tube to blow the air into it, but that's not just dry air. That has moisture in it. And there are metal pieces, even though most of the machines nowadays are plastic, mostly plastic. Those metal pieces, over time, using canned air, will rust. And again, your machine will freeze up. And then you'll have to go through getting rust remover and all kinds of good fun stuff. I've already done that once to a machine that I saved. Got all the rust out of it. And one day it's going to be alive and I'm going to show it to you when I'm ready with it. So, no canned air. So what do you use instead? Lots of things. First, you got different kinds of brushes. You can use an old toothbrush even. Brush the dust out. Brush the lint out. If you find threads, there are tweezers. I always opt for the bent end ones because you can get into more spaces with it without damaging the gears or the workings of the inside of your machine. The best ones that I've had, I got these from Amazon. These are wonderful. They're titanium tipped. These things are sharp and they can get into spots like you wouldn't believe. So these are my favorite. But on the same side, these are kind of like I should call them spring loaded. They also have the bent tip, not as bent as the titanium ones, but you just squeeze the handle and it opens them up. The only thing with these is it doesn't come to a tight grip by itself, whereas these guys, you're the one squeezing those tips together and they go together nice and tight. Okay, in order to get into the bobbin area to dust out any threads, or even if threads start to jam up in it and you have to get them out, there's just no way around it. Most of your sewing machines will come with 2 screwdrivers. Usually it's going to be, these are some old ones too, it's going to be a little skinny one like this and one a little bit wider. I don't think I've ever seen a Phillips head one come in a sewing machine, but they might, I don't know. I found these wonderful things. These were on, I think it was Alibaba, Alibaba Express. Anyway, they're the tiniest little screwdrivers. There's a flathead one, and that one's a Phillips head. What these are awesome for is your needle plate area. You don't have a whole lot of room to unscrew these. Look, this is look, it just fits. It just fits that space. So these for 97 cents, you can't beat it. Then of course you have your typical Phillips head, because a lot of these machines will have Phillips and straight screws. I don't know why they don't use all the same screws all over the whole thing. I think they just make it hard for us. But anyhow, and along with the brushes, you don't want to spend any money on like expensive brushes, go to the craft store. Get yourself some craft brushes. Just plain old craft paint brushes. This is an antique. This came with an old Singer. That's what they used to give you. They used to give you the really good brushes with them. For if you find that there is an excessive amount of oil, which there shouldn't be if you oil your machine properly, Q-tips. Okay? But watch it with the Q-tip. The fibers do come loose, so when you're cleaning up excess oil, you want to roll it. Roll the Q-tip. So that what the oil does is it makes it stay rolled together and not break apart and break into your machine. You don't want any more fibers in there, that's for sure. This tool I showed in one of my last videos, the dental mirror. This thing is great. Let's say you're looking in the bobbin area, and you're like, I think I see something down there, but I can't quite see it. Well, this will fit into a lot of places where you can actually see, oh, there it is. You find it, you get your bent nose tweezers, and you pull those threads right out. I found threads in some odd places inside the sewing machine. I don't know how to get there, but they do. Have a mind of their own, I think. And craft brushes, cheap paint brushes, little skinny one, little wider one for bigger areas. Then you have scissors. You want to, if you're going to work with any kind of satin, any kind of fabric that frays on a regular basis, gets fuzzy threads all over the place, clings to you as you're trying to work on the project, you need a really good pair of pinking shears. These are the best pinking shears I have ever had. I can't even remember what the brand name of it is, but they're not Fiskars, and I have Fiskars. Fiskars are great. I stand by Fiskars. They have awesome scissors. But even Fiskars, after a while, especially if you have them for over like 30 years. They do need sharpened, but I just ended up buying new scissors. So picking shears, you do not have to buy the expensive scissors, but Singer has their own brand scissors. And Singer scissors are really good. They're good and sharp. One rule of thumb with your fabric scissors: don't let your kids get a hold of them. No, do not let them cut paper. Once these fabric scissors cut paper, they're done. You may as well just let the kids have them for all their school projects and stuff, because the blades are honed for fabric cutting, not paper. So once you cut them with paper, it ruins, the blade. The other thing that I like to say you really want to consider having is, if you do any kind of applique work, or if you're doing embroidery like I do on my PE 800 embroidery machine, and you have to clip the little threads in between the letters to neaten it up and make it look nice and crisp, there are these are fabulous. I think I got these at Amazon too. I don't know if you can see, they bend up. You see that? How they bend up? And they're very pointy, and thin. The blades are thin and curved, so that way you can get under those little thin threads and just snip and get that cleaned right up. I actually did this with, I can show you them actually do it. This is some embroidery work that I did for a friend of mine, and you can see there's little threads in between the letters. Those have to get off of there, because otherwise it's not neatened up. So the reason why I love them is the curvature and the fact that they're nice and thin and very pointy. I can slide it right under that thread and get as close as possible to it, snip that one end, go over and get the other end, and I didn't hurt the lettering at all. But that piece of thread that was there that needed to be gone, it's gone. These things are great. I've seen people use them. I've seen them use them on their eyebrows, but we won't go there. And any sewing project, at some point in time, you are going to make a mistake in a seam where it's crooked, or it's not where it's supposed to be, and you got to rip the seam out. Seam rippers. That's where that comes in. There are several kinds of seam rippers. You find the little cheap 99-cent ones, I think, that have the little clear cap. You find them all day long. Then you have the standard size, which I call the 4.5 inch, 5 inch one. And everybody asks me, it's like, what's the little red ball for? Do you know what the red ball's for? What the red ball for, that's a guide, as when you have a seam, say this is seamed, okay? Your seam's here, stitches are in the middle. When you go to do this to rip those stitches out, that keeps you from tearing your material. You get the stitches, but you don't stab the fabric. If you did it upside down, like this would put holes in your project. It would put holes in it in a heartbeat. I've done that accidentally. I use the teeny tiny seam rippers for one thing mainly, and that is very intricate work that didn't quite get stitched on right. Beading sometimes. I'll use it for that. But I use a magnifying glass and this. Even with the glasses, you want to make sure you get just the stitch and not the fabric or the beads, or they go flying all over the floor. Another really good tool to have for holding something steady. I'm trying to think when I use these, but they're called hemostats, and they lock in place. They have a nice little thin pointed blade, but when you close the handles, they lock in place and they don't come open. So if you need to grab something, like even like say in the sewing machine, grabbing a thread, and you can't quite get it with the tweezers, you can use these. You just put it in there, snap it shut, pull that thing out. This is the coolest seam ripper, and for us who have to wear the extra set of eyes, and we can't always see and don't always have the best lighting to rip seams out or do a correction of seams, this is a light up seam ripper with a magnifying glass. Yes, and it's at Joann's, and it's not expensive at all, but it is so wonderful. Look at this. Can you imagine? I mean, That's when I saw it, was like, I felt like I'd found a new toy. But then again, all this stuff's kind of toys to me. The other thing is, one of the greatest tools, and I don't have one in the room right now, that I do use is, there is acrylic quilters equipment. One of them is an 18-inch by 2.5-inch wide acrylic ruler. It's clear, it's see-through. It's wonderful when you're trying to make sure you're going to do a straight line. You can line it up with the print that's on the fabric because you can actually see the print through the ruler. And I highly recommend everybody have at least one of those. I even have the big square. I have a 12-inch square because sometimes, like when I'm making bonnets, I'll start out with the square and then kind of play around with it and, you know, fix it up. And you're probably wondering, where do you put all this stuff that you call your tools? In my toolbox. You know what my toolbox is? It's a pink lunchbox. Insulated lunchbox. Yes, it is. It's got a nice pocket on the outside, and it's got the pocket on the end, the big space on the inside, and there's still stuff in there. I mean, I don't work outside the house anymore, so it's perfect. And I can spot it a mile away because it's pink. Everything else in the world, it seems to be black. Every person who does any sewing should have at least one of these tape measure. Now, your best friend is not this one. If you are going to make curtains for yourself, make anything, and you don't want to yank this out, have to roll it back up. That's where you get the retractable one. Forgot to put it out here on the table. Let me grab it. Again, I go for the bright colors just because I can find stuff better that way. So I have this lime green one. It's great. Now it only goes to 60 inches. So if you're doing 92-inch drapes, this wouldn't work. You kind of like eyeball it, but you just push the button in the middle and it goes. It has millimeters and centimeters on one side and then the inches on the other side. A lot of times you will see on patterns, or for whatever reason, they're only metric. So having one of these along does help a lot, because all you do is say something is supposed to be 4 inches and a quarter. So you go to 4 1/4 inches, which is here. I usually like pinch it with my thumbnail, and then you turn it around, and on the other side, oh, it's 10 centimeters or 107 millimeters is the equivalent of 4 1/4 inches. That's how you convert at a moment's notice. You don't need to use an app on your phone. Use this little thing. I just keep one in my purse. I have 4 of these. I keep one in my purse all the time. Okay, with your sewing machine, and I may have mentioned this before, or maybe not. If you get one fresh from the store, brand new, it will have a bobbin in it. It might have 2. And you'll already know what kind of bobbins you need to buy to do more projects, because as you fill up those bobbins, you need more. Like I do. I have probably a couple hundred of them. I don't know. But there are so many different kinds of bobbins. When you purchase a sewing machine from a private owner who has lost interest, lost pieces of the sewing machine, they don't always have a bobbin to give you. So you can do one of 2 things. You can go to your local fabric store, ask, I have a Singer 237 Fashion Mate, whatever, and I don't know what kind of bobbin it takes. Can you help me? And they usually can help you pretty good, because I mean, that's the business that they're in. You can go online. You can Google your sewing machine, make and model. You don't need the serial number. And look up the service manual. Most machines will have a service manual online. What the service manual is differs from the user's manual or the instruction manual. Is the service manual shows you how to troubleshoot problems that come up with the sewing machine. Needle to bobbin timing. It covers that. It's a timing belt. All kinds of mechanical issues that you don't have to call a shop to do it for you. And you can save yourself a whole lot of money if you Just get a little brave and try. Don't be afraid. Follow the book, and if you still don't get it, well, yeah, go ahead. Have a service guy do it because they do it all the time. I do it because I don't want to pay anybody to do it. So, bobbins, the other thing that comes in really, really handy. Back in the day, we used, when we were cutting out patterns, remember tracing paper and tracing wheels. Well, tracing paper is a wax kind of thing. And so the wheel has these little pointed tines, and it puts the little wax coating, and it's stuff that washes out of the fabric. I don't like having to rewash stuff. So they do have one marking pen for fabric that after a period of time, after you've had time to pin everything together, it naturally just disappears. It's like, the invisible man. It goes away. So that's a good one. Now I found this set. I'm not sure where I found it on the internet, but I was looking for marking pens because normally I will use what's called tailor text with thread and a hand needle to mark dots, X's, whatever, that you have to match up on a pattern. There was these. This is a set of 4 different colors. Now what attracted me to these is because there's 4 colors, you have dark fabrics, you have medium colored fabrics, you got prints, and one of these will work. If you've got dark navy blue, use white. If you've got, say, a green, you can use the pink. Something that will stand out, and it's not going to hurt the material. It's going to wash out anyway. But this saves you a lot of time and frustration with trying to match up seams and darts and this and that, because you're able to use this for that. And speaking of when you're making clothes and things, I'm going to go this in. I just finished the video for one of the subscribers who had seen the headband bonnet, and she said it was a little bit too advanced for her. She wanted to see a bonnet that was more geared for a, I'll move this light a little bit, for a very, very, very beginner. So, came up with this, and some of these next tools are very helpful with this. It's just one layer. It's not reversible, but it turned out really cute. I made it with a contrast black band for it. And on this, there is a couple different tools to pull elastic through a casing. Is a bear. Let's all face it. We hate putting elastic in things. Drawstrings. You know how when you have the hoodies and the drawstring comes out and you're like, oh great, how am I going to back in there? Well, there's a couple different tools you can use. This one is my favorite for the mere fact that it is so long. It has a little hook portion right here. So what I do is I'll take the elastic. I have a piece of elastic out here. And what I do is I hook this hook end, into the elastic, and then this part of it, I pull it through the casing, pull the whole thing through, and it works wonderful. On the flip side of that, sometimes these are hard to maneuver. It's because the end it's very tiny. So I discovered these. I love these now. It doesn't look like much. It just kind of looks like a, but it's spring loaded. So I'm going to find something here. Here's a piece of cording. Oh, there's elastic right here. Always have some piece of elastic, okay? And I want to put this through a bonnet. This little ring, you slide it down, and it opens up. Well, fancy that. So you put that around your elastic. You hold it, and you squeeze that back down. Good and tight. That elastic, it's not going to come out of there. This allows you to have the dexterity to put your elastic through that casing, but make sure always when you're doing that you take a safety pin. I use safety pins because they're better than straight pins as far as anchoring the elastic down, and you anchor it down to one side and you put your elastic through, come through, and then all you do is take this back, take it off, overlap the elastic, do your little zigzag stitch box and close it up. These are wonderful. It was, I think I got 6 of these and it was only like a couple dollars. It might have been Alibaba Express. Yeah, you have to wait for things from there, but the money savings, I think, kind of outweighs the time wait if you're not pressured for time. That's why I got them. I saw them and I go, that's exactly what I need to do my bonnets, to do my steam gowns, because my steam gowns have elastic in them as well. Also, when you're working with making clothes, making bonnets, whatever you're making, you use, what do you use? Use pins. You use straight pins. There are different kinds of pins. There's quilting pins. That's a quilting pin. There's a big old plastic head on it. You don't want to do these with something you're going to iron, because you're going to hit that thing with the iron and it's going to melt. And then your iron's going to make a stink, and then you have a heck of a time taking care of the iron. There's also ballpoint straight pins. Those are typically for your thicker fabrics, your denims, your gabardine, things like that. Excuse me. Then the ideal pin to use for pretty much everything, they're called glass head pins. Now you're probably wondering, why glass head pins? Glass can take heat. So if you're trying to press something while it's pinned together on your ironing board, it's not going to hurt the pins. I can't get over how many people it's like, you can sew over the pins. I go, yeah, I've been doing that for years. The sewing machines stitch the stitches in such a way that it kind of like jumps over them anyway. The item that you're making still gets a seam, still holds together, and it doesn't hurt the pins, doesn't hurt the needle on the sewing machine, unless you use one of those big pins and your needle's not in there quite right, or your presser foot's not on there, you know, nice and tight, and it hits the presser foot, or it hits the needle, and bam, now you've got a broken needle. Broken needles are no fun either. They sell these all day long in sewing supply departments, the little plastic magnet. I have one just because I have one. I don't use it much, because that's, you notice that's all the quilting pins are on there. It's the only thing on there. But what I do use is, I spotted these in a couple places. Now I wish I had kept all 3 of the set. There's a set of these magnetic items in Walmart. You get this little bowl with a majorly heavy-duty magnet on the bottom. You get one of these. Then there's a telescoping wand that's magnetic, and then there's another piece. It's not as long, and I made the mistake. I gave the other 2 pieces to my husband because he likes to work on his cars and stuff. I should have kept the telescoping one. Do you know how many times I have dropped a screw in the sewing machine while I'm taking the lid off, and I have to turn it upside down, try to shake it out? It's no fun. So if you get this set, you get a couple of them, but get one set of these, this with the 2 longer telescoping ones. And then this also comes in a 4-inch size, Harbor Freight. They're like $4. And every once in a while, they do that coupon thing where it's 99 cents for one. Yeah, that's when you hit them up. And you can go in and get one. Then you send your husband in and get the other 99 cents. So now you got 2. I'm just saying, you know, there's some stuff you got to be sneaky about. If you do delve into working on fixing your sewing machine, or you're forced to experiment with how to fix it, especially timing. And when I say timing, that's, I may have already explained. It is when the needle goes down, because you have to have 2 threads to make a stitch. If the needle going down does not meet the thread of the bobbin at the exact right time, it will not make a stitch, and you will not have any stitches, or you'll have messed up stitches, you'll have loops everywhere. And that's why in my TLC guide, I tell you how to deal with that when you see that you have bad stitches or no stitches. And one of the fixes requires opening up the light section where the needle bar goes up and down, and there is it's not a clasp, it's like it looks like a bolt actually, and it has a little hole in it. It's not for a screwdriver, it's for Allen wrenches. And I got this set. Some of them are so tiny, but when it comes to sewing machines, everything in there is tiny. That has to be, pretty much everything has to be adjusted. So I said this is typically the size that goes for everything inside a sewing machine. This one, but you never know when you're going to need an Allen wrench. I'm allergic to dust, and it's gotten dusty in here. So that's that. Glass beads. That. There you go. When I said don't use canned air, I invested, it's the best $12 I ever invested in. It's called a mini or micro vacuum kit for cleaning sewing machines. And I think one of them says it's for cars, sewing machines, and something else, small engines or whatever. I've gotten to kind of love this kind of stuff from Amazon, because they got all the good stuff when it comes to being able to take care of your machine. Makes you feel like, it makes me feel smart. I mean, I never thought it would be working and fixing on, but I do, and I enjoy it. And I get to bring back to life ones that people's like, I'm sorry, it died, it doesn't work, it won't turn on. After a few minutes with me, I'm like, it does now. But anyway, this is the kit that I got. Actually, it was this one, because it came in a little plastic, I don't know, you can't really see it very well, but it has its own little, like, vacuum hose, and little mini attachments like the real thing, the bigger one. One of these, the description says, for round vacuum hoses. I go, I've never seen a square one. Have you seen a square vacuum hose? I never have. Anyway, but there are different kits. They range anywhere from $6.99 up to about $15.99, which still isn't bad. If it's going to make your sewing machine last for years and years and years, it is worth the money. It's a little bit of effort, a little bit of time. And because I love my machines, they all get TLC for me. This is the one that I'm going to have to get, because I should have gotten it first time out and I didn't. It's electric. Yeah, battery, but you know, they make rechargeable ones. Amazon sells those too. But this one is an electric one. It's like a wand. And that way you don't have to hook it up to your vacuum cleaner. It is self-sufficient, because the batteries are going to go in here. But it has the same tiny attachments that go inside. And they do, each kit gives you this little brush. So as you vacuum, you can brush it, vacuum it out, brush it. So I wanted, for the first of my beginner sewers series that I'm doing, to share with you the tools that will actually make your sewing experience a whole lot easier, a whole lot more enjoyable, because you won't be fighting with stuck threads, because you're regularly going to check. It's like, wait, I was working on jeans yesterday and I know that they fray sometimes. I need to check my bobbin. I need to check my bobbin winder area, and just vacuum it out. Get the mini vacuum kit. Just get the mini vacuum kit. Just get it. Whether it's the $7 one or the $15 one, just get one of them. Because you can use it on lots of other stuff too. It's great on computers. You can use it on your laptop. You don't want to spray canned air in your laptop either, by the way. Although people do it all the time. But anyhow. So those are the tools. That's my little pink toolbox. And this was just mostly an informative kind of video. It'll get better. I promise. I actually have a craft idea that if you want to get thread organized, I got some ideas for you the next video. and it involves zip ties and wire baskets. And one of them is plastic baskets, but I couldn't find wire ones that were the same size. So I might be ping-ponging back and forth, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to do some more of actually hands-on beginning sewing. One thing that I do want you to know is, yes, I know there is a way to sew buttons on with your sewing machine. I refuse to sew on buttons with a sewing machine because I know that my hand-sewn ones last a lot longer. Not to say anything against sewing machines the way they sew on buttons. I just don't trust it. I've had too many clothes, and you probably have too. You go, you see the perfect outfit, it's got some buttons here and there. You get home, you sit down, and boom, button pops off. And then you got to look for it. Then you got to figure out, oh great, how am I going to sew this thing back on? So that's just one of my pet peeves. I just don't like store sewn, machine sewn on buttons. I enjoy this so much. I love sharing my love of the craft of sewing. And I would love to hear from you all. I would love to have ideas, things you want to see, comments, good or bad. Bad ones just give me more incentive to do better. And that's for you guys. So then the next time it'll be, I'm going to probably go back and forth between informative, actual sewing things, and unless you guys like, share, subscribe, and tell me to do it different. Because I'm here for you. I'm here to share my love of this craft, and we're not going to let it die. At least I'm not. I know a lot of people think it's a lost art. It is kind of it definitely is an art, but it's never going to be lost. Not as I'm around, and I've been around a long time. All right, you guys, I've really appreciated your patience. I've appreciated you listening to my ramblings and my goofiness, but I like to be able to share a bit of me with you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and as I always say, happy sewing, always.